Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest episode of the Adopt 365 podcast. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Megan Warren.
Hello.
Thank you for joining today, Megan. Obviously, in today's podcast, we are going to be talking around everything about getting ready for your holiday with Microsoft 365. With summer holiday season fast approaching, we thought it would be best to put together our tips and tricks for how can you make sure that you have a peaceful, relaxing holiday. Rest assured that work is taken care of, and when you get back, make sure you can get up to speed as quickly as possible to reduce that post-holiday blues and make sure you can get straight back into it and be as productive as possible. But before we get started with that, let's start with our usual tradition of just going through one thing that has been on top of our mind or we've been looking at recently. Megan, what's your one thing for this month?
Mine is all around calendar management. So I am notoriously bad, or was notoriously bad, for things like RSVPing to invites so people wouldn't know if I was turning up, etc. I block out time in my calendar to actually get work done outside of my focus time that I set. And it meant that for other people, they weren't sure when was available in my calendar. It meant on things like bookings, a lot of my time was already booked up when actually I could probably juggle some stuff around. So I've been very strict on my calendar management recently, making sure that things that are booked in as time for me to get work done, but I could probably do a couple meetings if I needed to, is actually showing as available, but I've still got that reminder in my calendar of what I'm doing, making sure I'm RSVPing to events, etc., and having my calendar hours set correctly in there so that people can see that availability and booking. So very simple things, but for my colleagues and for people externally, makes the world of difference for them booking meetings with me and seeing my availability.
Fantastic. Yeah, some good tips there, Megan. From my side, I recently attended the Microsoft's annual partner kickoff, and they were showing some new functionality that's coming to Copilot shortly. So the specific features, which I believe have been shared wider, are going to allow Copilot to attend your meeting as an attendee. And some of the features that they showed that were coming to this were allowing Copilot to help you chair the meeting to ensure that you stuck to your agenda, stuck to your time, giving you prompts on the relevant elements. The other area was co-authoring notes with you. So this was using the notes section in Teams, and Copilot was actively creating notes in there that you could go and tweak and change, and you could add to in the same in real time in that co-authoring experience. So for me, this is just showing where Copilot is going to go. It's going to go beyond the helpful set of tool it is today, but actually being that Copilot in your meetings and other things where you're co-authoring together. So really excited to see where that's going. I think Copilot is having mass adoption. We're starting to see people really start to look at that. In fact, apparently it's got greater growth curve than Microsoft 365, I think, at the moment itself. So it is something that I urge everybody to be looking at. We're looking to be launching in September our Copilot Academy. So if you're buying Microsoft 365 licenses or Copilot licenses from us, or you want to know more about that, please reach out. We'll be sharing some information on social media soon, but we want to help you get the most out of Copilot inside your business, help you with the building the business case, how can it work for individuals in your business, and make sure you've got those tips and tricks to make sure you're getting the most out of it. So as I say, keep an eye on LinkedIn, keep an eye on our socials, and we'll be sharing some more information about that soon. But Megan, to get us started, do you want to kick off with task management? Before you go away from holiday, kind of got a lot going on, and then all of a sudden you're jumping on a plane, hopefully, and going somewhere nice and sunny, especially away from all the weather we've had recently, albeit it seems to be getting sunny now. So what are your initial tips around task management, preparing to be ready for your holiday?
Yeah, so there's kind of two sides to it. If it's for your own sort of mind clarity, making sure you've got everything off of your mental to-do list and in an actual to-do list, obviously going into the private task section of Planner and just get everything out of your head. Set the due dates for when you get back, especially as they might be things that are going to come up in the first couple of days back. Before you get bogged down into those emails, make sure that they're appearing in your Planner under private tasks and under that My Day section, so that you come back, you remember you've got to get on with them and do that. So just get everything out of there, even if it's the simplest things. And I also quite like the idea of using things like Planner under those private tasks for things you have to get done for your holiday. So checking into the flight. Cannot tell you how many times I've been reminded that I need to do that recently, and I just keep forgetting, but that's because I live in Planner and I haven't put it in there, so that's probably a note to myself that I need to do that. But yeah, get everything out of your head, get it all into Planner. There's quite a lot of stress that goes into getting ready for a holiday, both with work, personal, your family life, everything like that. So just get it all out of your head, give yourself clarity, give yourself that space to think and get it into there. But it's also around the team-based tasks as well. If you're working on a project or as part of a department and there are tasks that are assigned to you that are either due just before you go on leave or whilst you're on leave, making sure you update your team on where you are with that. If you haven't got something finished that you were meant to, let your team know, give them a comment on that specific task and say, I was going to get this done, haven't got around to it, can we reassign it to XYZ? Or I haven't quite got this done and it's meant to be when I'm away, we'll finish it the day I get back. Something like that. Don't just leave your team in the sort of dark, because at that point, that's where maybe the work will start getting duplicated. If you're halfway there, they might try and start from scratch, or they might think you've probably got it under control but forgot to tick it off, and then either tick it off for you and then it just becomes that thing that's missed. So yeah, use Planner to get everything out of your head, but also to update your team on where you are with those team-based tasks as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think in the book Productivity Ninja, they talk about the second brain. Stop carrying everything in your head and just have somewhere to note stuff down. So I really like that methodology of just dumping everything out of your brain into your planner to do. And then once you've dumped it all out, then think about, what do I need to do this next? Do I need to allocate it to someone? Do I need to set a due date on it? Is it something that I can action now? And just constantly doing that. And I think as you're getting ready for your holiday, as you've said there, Megan, it's just being able to make sure that those things aren't in your brain, that you feel that they're dealt with, that you feel that you can at least draw a temporary line underneath them, giving you that week or two off before you then come back to then crack back on with it.
Definitely.
So I think that then comes down to things like, how do we get ready in the days leading up, kind of thing. There were some calendar tasks that you recommended, maybe people that consider to make sure that they're in a best place when they go away.
Yeah, so I always recommend the transparency between you and your colleagues around calendars anyway. A good time around this, though, is when people are going on leave, and in this season, is just sharing your calendars with your colleagues. The amount of people that I know keep their calendar slightly secret, it feels, because they don't share it, or when they do share it, they don't share all the details, they just share busy, available, busy, available. But actually share your calendar with your colleagues, because at that point they'll see what meetings you've got coming up in the lead up to it. So if they can help you with any of that, then they've got that. If they need to see what meetings you were in whilst you're away, so that they need to go back on anything, they can do that. But it's also in that lead up, if they're trying to book you into meetings and you've got whole days booked out, they might wonder what that is. If they can see that you're on leave, it just makes that a lot easier for you. So I recommend all time of year, share your calendar with your colleagues, especially around times like this. Sorry, were you going to add something there, Barry? No. The other thing that you're able to do, and I love this feature within Microsoft 365, is if you've been invited to a meeting but you can't attend for the fact that you're on leave or you're already in another meeting, you can go and actually follow those meetings. So if I was on leave next week, and there was a meeting that was happening, but actually I still want to keep up to date with that because I'm going to be involved in the project further down the line, I can go and follow that meeting. And then when I get back, I can go and catch up on that meeting, see what the actions were, see what the discussion points were, and then I don't feel like I've completely missed out. Or you sometimes get that thing, almost like that guilt, where you're like, oh, I'm going to be on leave, but I kind of want to be in that meeting. Should I just quickly jump on for that hour or so? With the follow meeting option, you don't have to worry about that, because as soon as you're back, you can jump into that meeting and do that catch-up piece that you will have missed while you're on leave as well. And then the last one around calendar is make sure you're adding your annual leave to your calendar. The amount of people that I see adding it to their HR platform, and they book it in there, and then they don't put it in their calendar, and somebody books a meeting, they're like, oh, well, I'm on leave, I can't attend that. But how are people meant to know? Because no one wants to go and check Outlook and then wants to go check your HR platform. put it in your calendar, make it as easy as possible for people to know where you are at that time. That's what I was saying at the start around that calendar management. Make it easier for your colleagues, not just for yourself, and block that time out for yourself. Equally, that's really important if you're using things like Bookings with Me, because in Bookings with Me, you can go and like block particular dates to say I'm going to be on leave, but that means going into the settings of your Bookings with Me page and doing that. If you just block it out in your calendar as busy and put annual leave in there, it will just block that time out in Bookings with Me as well. So it just saves your job, and it's a lot more simple to do it that way than it is to go in the settings of Bookings with Me.
Some good advice there around your calendar, and making sure you've got it. And particularly one of the things that I always do is make sure that you've got your time booked out on a day-by-day basis rather than booking out across the week. Often people look at your calendar and don't see the one at the top that goes across all week, but they will see it if you add something 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, saying annual leave, and you don't want being disrupted when you go away. So I'll take a few of the next ones. So email and Microsoft Teams are constant an area of disruption, even in our day-to-day lives. But while we're chilling next to the pool, the last thing we want is the noise going off that important emails come in or someone trying to contact us on Teams. So first thing I would encourage you to do is think about what should be happening to your email when you go away. Of course, you're going to go in and set your out of office greetings. You can actually easily do that on your phone now. I think under the settings in the Outlook app is where I'd encourage you to go and have a look. Equally, while you're doing that, make sure you go and update your voicemail inside Teams. They've got a fantastic text to voice feature that allows you to write a little message saying you're away this week, please speak to a colleague. But maybe consider forwarding your calls to a colleague or a hunt group, a queue, where your colleagues are able to answer it. But also your emails. Maybe there are rules that you need to set up to allow certain emails to be forwarded, or better still, if you're working as part of a team, maybe share your inbox with your colleagues for that period of time to allow them to review and action anything from that perspective. Another thing to consider is you could review your quiet hours inside Microsoft Teams and kind of make every hour a quiet hour. And I think that is now also available in Outlook, the quiet hours on your mobile phone as well. But Megan, you had a few suggestions around getting rid of the apps and maybe giving you another area of focus for any thoughts that might come into your head whilst you're on holiday.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely am a big advocate of setting your quiet hours on Teams and Outlook when you're going away. You can actually set them as quiet days as well. So rather than having to adjust those hours, you can just set, like, I'm going to be on leave for the next week. Every day is a quiet day for me for the next week. And you can go and set that. It makes it a lot easier. I am a big advocate as well for uninstalling the applications. I know a lot of people have things set to quiet hours and then they sit there and they go, oh, well, I'll just quickly check that I haven't got that email, or I'll just quickly check no one on Teams needs me. And that quick check soon turns into half an hour or an hour of your own time gone, because you then go into the next email or the next chat message and you're like, well, I quickly need to help them. And actually, you've taken that time off, you've taken the leave for you to have your own time. As much as people think it won't happen, the business will continue without you. People will find a way to get it done in the week that you're off. So just uninstall them. Don't have that temptation there for that just quickly check, because it never is just a quick check when you're on leave, because there's so many things that have built up that can all wait until you are back. But I do also recommend going back to Planner. Install Planner on your phone for that time, well, for all time really, but for this week or 2 weeks or however long you're off, because if you are sat doing something and you just happen to have something work related pop into your head, which is inevitable, we can't fully switch off all the time, what you don't want to have to do is go into Teams and then go into your Planner and add it that way, because at that point you're probably going to get distracted by someone else's message pop up. If anybody's following you, they'll see you've just come online and they'll be like, oh, whilst you're online, just a quick one. Whereas if you have the dedicated Planner application on your phone, you can avoid all of the noise from Teams and Outlook and just get that out of your head into your second brain, as Barry said, into your Planner for you to then worry about when you get back. And it just means that you aren't sat thinking for the next 3 days, I must do that when I get back, or I'm quickly going to email myself or message myself on Teams, whatever that is. Just put it in your planner, forget about it for now, and then get to it when you get back. So yeah, quiet hours, uninstall the apps, but install planner. Just going back as well, Barry, about that office out of office greeting. If you go into your settings in Teams, you can actually set an out of office greeting, which I've set it for myself to make it as easy as possible. That every time I have a automatic reply on for my Outlook and for Teams, etc., it automatically has, sorry, I'm on annual leave at the moment, I'll get back to you when I'm back, etc. And then I don't have that thing where every time I go on leave, I have to go and set it for my Teams when people call me. As soon as they get through to my voicemail in Teams, that just kicks in when I have an out of office automatic reply on, because I'm already setting it for Outlook. I don't want to have to go set it for my voicemail as well. That just kicks in automatically for me.
Fantastic. Some great tips there to make sure you don't get disturbed whilst you're away, which kind of brings us to the next challenge around how can you get back up to speed as soon as you're back, kind of thing. You don't want that first day doom and gloom, gosh, I've got so much to go through kind of thing. How can you make your life easy? So Megan, I'll pass over to you in a moment in terms of Copilot and how Copilot can help you. But I suppose one of my tips is mainly with email, because that tends to be when you come back and you might have a few hundred emails in your inbox if your inbox is anything like mine, and maybe you haven't got Copilot. I'm sure after hearing Megan's tips in a moment, that's something that you maybe want to be considering. The first thing is in the Outlook app, the swipe gestures, and we've mentioned these before. You can configure swipe gestures. I'd recommend that you configure them for archive or for flag. Now, my first recommendation would be when you get back, not whilst on holiday, scroll back to the first day that you were on leave. Don't start from the newest and then work all your way back to your oldest, because somebody could be waiting another 2-3 days for that response to that email. Go back and then use the swipe gestures. If you don't need it, and you might just want to do this first, archive everything that isn't relevant. You might be able to get that 200-300 emails down to 50 or 60 that you need to do an action. If you can action something in 10-15 seconds, quickly reply to it and get it done. Anything else that you're going to flag, you're then going to go into your inbox and look at the flagged emails at the tops, working on the oldest to the newest to make sure you get back on top. Now, from my perspective, that's just the quickest and most stress-free way of getting back to the top. If you start digging into emails, maybe one of them ends up distracting you for an hour, you haven't got on top of that inbox. So you first of all need to kind of get your inbox under control, know what it is that you respond to, look at what's their oldest to newest, and then get back up to speed as quickly as possible. But Megan, if someone's got a Copilot license, what recommendations have you got that they can get up to speed utilizing Copilot to help them?
Yeah, so in regards to Outlook, there is really good integration between Copilot and Outlook. And the best thing I'd probably say is if you come back from your holiday and you've got 100 to 200 emails in there, is just go into Copilot and say, what are the, I don't know, important emails? Because there will be some that people have marked as important. What are the important emails I've missed in the past 7 days? Or what are the emails I've received that have an action dedicated to me in the past 7 days? And those emails that are marked as important, that have actually given you actions, are those emails that you're probably going to want to respond to first. The rest of them are either spam, junk, or maybe a bit more informational, just like an FYI or a CC email or something like that. But those ones that have been marked as important or you've got those actions for, you can get summaries of them very quick and easily as well. And the nice bit about that as well is if I had asked Copilot, what are some emails that I've missed that have an action for me? It would summarize it. And when I click into it, it would also then pop up with Copilot saying, would you like to draft me a response for me? I can click yes, and it will just quickly draft that response for me. I can tweak it quickly, and then I can send it. So what will have been maybe a 10-minute task for you to find that email, to read the full email chain, because usually there is a long chain behind them, to then draft your message and send it, has then probably turned into like a 2-minute task. And if you think you've got 50 useful emails from that 200 that we had there, if each of those is going to take 10 minutes and we've just taken 8 minutes off of that, how much time are you actually going to save? So rather than your first day back from your holiday being all about managing your inbox again, and I hate when people get back and they just go, I'm just going to mark everything as unread, because then whoever really did want me will just email me again. Don't do that. I hate that. But But rather than it being a whole day you've had to block out of your calendar when you get back to manage that inbox, you've then probably minimized that to half a day, and then you've got the rest of the half a day to catch up with your team, actually get some of those tasks done that you've put into planner, and get more work done rather than just catching up on emails when a lot of them will probably be things you don't want. So yeah, recommend using Copilot in Outlook just to catch up on those emails and to draft them as well. The other way that we can use Copilot is on those meetings that you may have missed, whether you're following them, which I recommend you do, or if you have just missed, maybe it's a weekly meeting that happens and you just want to catch up on it, just using Copilot to go into those meetings and say, what were the discussion points here? Or even better, what actions were given to me in this meeting? When you're not in meetings, people love to give you actions, especially the ones that are really hard or anything like that, because they're like, well, Megan's not here, she'll take that one, because you can't defend yourself at that point. So actually just being able to catch up on those actions. Ideally, your team should have already put them into a planner for you. But if they haven't done that, you don't want to have missed them. So just go back to those meetings. This is what you can do in your second half of the day. Go back to those meetings, just see what the discussion points were, check that meeting out, see what actions were there, check if they're in planner, and if they're not, just add them to your private task list as well. And then after day one, you are back on top, you are fully organized to then just be productive and get more work done.
Fantastic. Great tips there. And I suppose my last final tip is remember the human part of the modern workspace. As much as this technology is here to help you, hopefully it can be put under control so it doesn't distract you. Speak to your colleagues before you go away. Let them know maybe important emails that you're waiting for. And when you get back, ask them, what have you missed? Anything that I need to be aware of? Because that will just allow you to focus as you go through these reviews and get back up to speed. I think that's the majority of what we've got today. I think, Megan, you had a final tip on when some others are on holiday, one thing that you'd recommend.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, we recommend that people avoid things like Teams and Outlook and all of that stuff whilst they are on holiday. However, there's always going to be some people that will just have a quick check. So I do recommend, if your colleague is on holiday, just delay send a message, whether that is an email, you can delay send your emails now, or if it's a Teams message, just delay send that message as well. Really easy to do, but it just means that it's out of your head. You can delay send like 5 different messages if you want to, but at that point, it's out of your head, the person that's working, but the other person that's on leave won't be distracted by it. If they've forgotten to set their quiet hours, or if they do just happen to log on to Teams, they're not going to get distracted by your message. They'll get it when they get back, when they need to actually action anything. And the piece is, if somebody is on leave and their manager emails them or sends them a Teams message and they do happen to see that, they may feel a little bit of pressure to get it done whilst they're still on leave, if there is a time sensitive element to it. Whereas if you delay send that message, they're going to get it when they're back. There'll be no stress, there'll be no issue there. So yeah, it's such an easy feature to use, whether it is in Outlook or whether it is in Teams. And just for that well-being of your colleagues, just use the delay send, but you can still get it out of your head at that point.
Brilliant tip there. Thank you very much. So that's it. Short but sweet, a Doc365 podcast this time. Obviously, we're missing Anthony, who is now officially retired. I'm sure he'll be listening. So, Anthony, I hope you're enjoying finally getting out there and doing a bit of surfing and doing your charity work. We'll be back next month with more of the Doc365 podcast, and we'll also be launching the Copilot Academy soon. If you have liked anything that you've heard today, or you would like to work with us further, please reach out to anybody at Cascade or a Cascade account manager. Don't forget, if you have Microsoft 365 licensing today and you bring that over to Cascade, you'll get our free Adopt 365 training platform for every single one of your users, including free monthly training. But I hope you found this useful. I hope you enjoy your holidays. We look forward to catching up with you after your holidays to dig into more Microsoft 365 goodness. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.